to Councilmember Foster.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Chief, I just have a few questions for you. In your opening remarks when we got started, you talked about accountability. If you can elaborate, please, because I can appreciate the commitment regarding the federal government, but we have already had a breach with our system. Regardless if we have increased standards or not, we had a breach. So what was the accountability associated with said breach?
Sorry.
Apologies.
No worries. To make sure that we're all on the same page, when you say breach, there was unauthorized access to data and information.
Is that not a breach of the contract?
Well,
If they share data, is that not a breach of the contract?
I'll let you guys figure that out, sir.
You are the asset owning department of said contract. So that decision, if it's in breach or not, is yours.
Okay.
Which is why I think this is such an important discussion.
I hear you. Do you want me to answer the question? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay. So when we set up the technology, it is legal in this state to share the data. Our use policy is more restrictive than California law. So when it was set up, it's industry standard throughout the state to share the data. We're the agency that does not share with anybody. So when it was set up, they didn't have whatever is done behind the scenes to make it more restrictive for our agency. So there was no violation of state law. Agencies were allowed to use it like they do in every other city or most cities throughout this state. So it was an honest miss in the beginning stages of setting this complicated technology up and meeting our restrictive policy.
So they did not have a copy of the contract when they went to implement and deploy the devices and the software?
I'm not going to speak for them or how that happened. I would let them answer to that.
Well, let me ask your staff. I'm confused. If we had, I'm confused. Especially if you were telling me that we had folks out performing work and we did not have an executed contract. Did they have a contract? So then they should have known that we were more restrictive than the state's requirements. Yes or no?
The use policy was part of the contract.
Yes or no? They had the information that our requirements were more restrictive at the time they set out to deploy and implement the devices and the software.
Yes.
So would you agree that that is then a breach of the contract?
I'm not going to answer that question, sir, the way that you want me to answer that. I'm sorry.
Okay, Police Chief. Okay, one more, and we're going to clear the room. We didn't laugh. We didn't challenge anything that you said. Please extend the courtesy. I know it's hard because I know you're passionate about it. I know you're angry about it. I know you're frustrated about it. But please show, there's a lot of thumbs up and thumbs down. I love it. Snapping fingers, go for it. But please, let us get through this conversation because I know we're getting late. Everybody's going to get a little cranky. Please. Chief.
Council member.
Chief.
Listen, I understand what you're trying to get to.
I'm trying to get to a reasonable answer for this council and the public.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, I think everybody in the room understands there was a miss that took place. It was identified. We made immediate corrective action and fixed it.
So no accountability.
I'm sorry?
No accountability.
I think
we fixed it, but no accountability.
Well,
I'm asking as a question.
I hear you. I understand what you're getting at, sir, but there are growing pains with this new type of technology when you implement it. There was nothing nefarious about that. It was no violation of state law. It was something that was missed.
So you say It was in its early stages. How long did we work with Flock when we went through the process to exclusively negotiate a contract with that firm? How long did that take?
In months?
Be several months.
Just a few months.
Yeah, months? Yes.
So how did you handle accountability?
As soon as we became aware of it, we made corrective action and fixed it with the vendor. We also, when we became aware that it wasn't in the original annual report, we made that modification, made notifications to everybody and put it in there. There was nothing nefarious about it. I don't believe the vendor was trying to get a fast one in on anybody. I think it was an honest mistake in setting up the new technology. The auditing system worked and corrected what happened in the very initial stages of setup. That's what happened.
The other question I have is this, in regards to Jeff Jordan. There was an article in UT. How do you know if Mr. Jordan is not working on your account?
What I can tell you is we are not dealing with him for our account. What they have him,
That's not my question. My question is, how do you know that he is not working on the San Diego Police Department account?
I have no idea what he's doing for them. I know that we are not dealing with him directly. That's how I can answer that.
So we do not have any insight into if he is working on the San Diego Police Department contract or not, correct?
If with
Confirmed.
their company, I have no idea what he does. We do not deal with him directly for anything with our contract or with our services. That would be a question that Flock would have to answer.
I don't,
And he is not a part of the team that works with us. We have a group.
What?
He is not a part of the team that works with us. We work with different people than Jeff Jordan.
I don't think that's uncommon, correct?
What?
The chief doesn't work with everyone on my team. He works with very specific individuals, right? That's not uncommon, but I do have individuals that work on police items. My question is, how do you know? Because I believe, are you the contract administrator for this?
Yes,
So you were involved in the implementation.
yes.
So you did not realize what they were doing when they rolled out this, when they rolled out the device and the units and flipped the switch, and we had the breach.
This was not a breach. This was not an unauthorized access of our system.
I'm saying a breach of the contract. I'm talking about the contract.
Okay, there's two times that breach can be used two different ways. This was a setting that was not improperly employed, that allowed something that is permissible under state law, SB 34, intrastate sharing, that is the industry standard. And we operate more differently. Like the chief says, I want to echo a second, this is an honest mistake.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Any other honest mistakes are there any other honest mistakes that have taken place as we've gone through this process that have not been fully disclosed to the council or the public?
None that I'm aware of.
Nothing.
Nothing that I'm aware
When
of.
we went through test case scenarios, is that in here? When we went through, did you guys go through when you were making the decision that this was the only device and unit that you could use? Did you not put up a unit to test it?
Yes,
And how did that testing go?
the testing was that the technology worked.
And was the technology put up and brought down in the time frame that it was supposed to be put up and brought down?
No,
It was not.
yes.
And was this prior to us having a contract in place or after we had a contract in place?
This was as we were developing a contract.
So we had no contract. Did we have a surveillance ordinance in place?
Yes,
Okay. So we put a unit up. The unit did not come down when it was supposed to come down. Was that unit used for any type of investigatory purposes?
yes.
So my next question is going to be, why is it not included in a report somewhere?
That would not be part of our annual surveillance report.
So why did you not send us a memo? Why did you not notify us?
Respectfully, sir, all council members were briefed on the test site. Your staff was briefed, all the council members were briefed on that.
What about the public? Again, I'm getting to for me, this is about trust. We can talk about Flock all day, but my access is the San Diego Police Department. My expectation is that the San Diego Police Department will ensure that our contracts are followed, just like we ask every other department to do the same. I think the public expects us to do the same. I have colleagues that take issue with contracts because they're expired and they won't approve them. So I think, Chief, when I'm talking about accountability, how are we going to ensure that we are transparent, that we are disclosing what we need to disclose to the council and the public? I think that's the root of the conversation that we are having here. And you're not giving me the warm feeling that I'm looking for to say, we got it. I'm holding my folks accountable.
Council member, we brought you into our station and showed you exactly how we're using the system. We have dramatically altered the way that we do our auditing, the frequency of that auditing. The safeguards are put into place. My staff knows the sensitivity. We are here tonight listening not just to comments from council and concerns from council, but also concerns from the community. We've worked collaboratively with the Privacy Advisory Board for months on this. It is crystal clear to my staff how important this is so that we can maintain the use of this technology. It is a top priority for us, and it will remain a top priority with your approval tonight. I hear you and understand what you're saying about the way that things were implemented. When I talk about accountability, we're going to take the corrective action that's needed, but know when we were setting this up, there was nothing nefarious about that. There was nothing to gain from the vendor by doing this. There was no add-on feature that created more revenue for them or some sort of gain. It was an honest mistake. The one positive I got out of that was that we identified it through an audit, which is exactly why we have the auditing that is greatly improved since then. So it was a learning process, and we got better for it. So to me, a positive came from that. And so I understand the sensitivities. I've had discussions out in the hallway today about concerns in the community. I understand it. But as your chief, I also have to balance the concerns of all our neighborhoods and communities. In understanding from the inside, being on the police department, understanding how we are using it, truly using it to fight crime. I can't turn my back to that and focus only on concerns that are largely what-if scenarios. I understand them, but if I bite my nose off over here to spite my face, it isn't going to alleviate that fear. We've got 3 more years of that fear, truly, if we want to be real. Getting rid of that technology is not going to fix it. I want us to be transparent. I want us to be open. That's why we brought everybody in, to take a look at how we're using it to fight crime, to keep people safe. There's no gain in it for us other than it helps us to do our job better. That's it.
Let me ask this question. Our contract is not with Flock, correct?
Correct.
Who's our contract with?
Ubiquia.
How do you know Flock has the appropriate items in their contract that they need to have in their contract.
Let me understand a little bit more. What do you,
Is Flock a subcontractor in this agreement?
Yes.
So how do you know that everything was passed down to every subcontractor? I don't know how many other subcontractors they had.
The contract has the use policy, all the documents that we included as part of the contracting process were included, to include the use policy, which governs how the technology is utilized. Flock has come before you, and they're here right now, stating that they must comply with state law, that they will comply with state law, that they must comply with SB 34, SB 54, the FACE Act. They've also stated that they must comply with the trust ordinance. They've said so on the record before, and I'm sure if you brought them up before you, they'd be happy to say that again. They've provided the attestations that were requested by the Privacy Advisory Board.
Can I interrupt you?
Yes, of
Coda,
course.
can you check with purchasing and contracting? Typically, when we do our standard contracts, there's clauses in our contracts that we say must be in subcontractors' agreements. And we should have a way, if we need to verify, we verify. Can we check with purchasing and contracting to see if everything passed down the way it was supposed to pass down?
Yes, we do have Claudia from Purchasing and Contracting online, but we can absolutely check that for you, council member.
So essentially, my question is, what binds them? I can appreciate their handwritten, whatever they provided on their letterhead, but what binds them contractually to the obligation?
If Claudia is on the line, I would defer to her on the contracting.
Good evening, Council Member Foster. I would have to look into the contract, but typically our contracts do have what's called flow down provisions, where not only are our prime contractors responsible for following all of the requirements that we have, but also any subcontractors. We can get back to you with that information to make sure that that was actually in this particular contract.
And we're not in a position to where we can verify that or confirm that tonight, as we are being asked to move forward with this policy, with this use policy.
I can, if you give me a few minutes, I can circle back and let everyone know.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
I think, Chief, I will pause here. I don't know if there are any other of my colleagues that want to get on the lights while Mrs. Abarca tries to identify what she is trying to identify. Chief, I can just tell you, I am concerned. As I said in my initial comments, I don't think I don't think the conversation is necessarily that this is not a good tool or useful tool, meaning both, and I'll say both the cameras and the license plate readers. I think it's just a matter of the time that we are in and the issues that seem to keep coming up to where I am just not comfortable allowing and approving this use policy today. So I'll pause here. I'll turn it over. It looks like Councilmember Elo Rivera is on the lights, and I do have one more question, but I'll pause until and see. He may cover it, and I may be done.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Foster. We'll go next to Councilmember Elo Rivera.
All right, thank you, Council President. Thank you, Chief, for being here. Thank you to STPD for the presentation here. Thank you to the advocates who've been here, community members who've expressed your concerns. Definitely appreciate that. So context is always important, and I want to start there. I think it seems like everyone up here and in here agrees that these are not normal times. We have a fascist federal government that's growing more desperate every day as their incompetence, their hatred, and their corruption is exposed. As that desperation grows, so does their cruelty and their terroristic behavior. As a result, the fear in our communities is growing by the day. Everybody deserves to feel safe. It's the one thing, as tense as this conversation is, I actually don't know that we have another item where everyone's as united around the goal of feeling safe as this particular item. And working to make everyone feel safe is one of the most sacred responsibilities that we have in government. And that isn't easy because everyone experiences safety in a different way. That's true within a single family, that's true within a group of friends, and in a city of 1.4 million people, that's definitely true as well. But a core element to safety everywhere and with everyone is trust. And we can't feel safe unless we can trust that the people around us are truly looking out for us. A city where people feel safe is one where neighbors trust each other, communities trust their government, and every single family can trust that the city will protect them. So while we should always be looking for ways to improve safety and make more people feel safe, it's essential we do not take actions that are likely to violate the trust that the feeling of safety depends on. Technology obviously can and should strengthen trust, not undermine it. And when tools help us save lives, they are honoring our values. However, while tools can be helpful, they can also be harmful. And that's why it's so important to weigh the risk and potential harms of these tools against their potential benefits. The tool that we are discussing today, and I understand what's in front of us, it's the use policy, but the reality is that we're giving Flock the ability to continue operating. Their license plate readers is a tool that has continuously been abused and has caused immense harm and eroded trust. Flock is a proven bad actor who's either unwilling or unable to prevent their powerful tool from being abused. In Texas, police attempted to track down a woman for seeking essential health care. Is Flock okay with their technology being used in that way? Has STPD asked Flock if they're okay with that? Have we asked, have we inquired about that?
We have not.
Flock's granted federal agencies access to data in violation of state laws. The pattern of behavior and the pattern of abuses of the technology make it impossible for me to trust them or for me to tell San Diegans they should trust Flock with information about their every single move. Our residents deserve to be confident that sensitive information about their lives will not be misused or simply handed over to a fascist federal government that ignores the law and violates the Constitution on a daily basis. Flock's not worthy of that confidence. And this is true for every San Diegan, but I represent the most diverse community in San Diego. And while most San Diegans, including myself, cherish that diversity, there are an increasing number of people who I represent who are being targeted by the Trump regime. All of us in the Latino community have been told by the federal government and the Supreme Court it's acceptable to profile us. The Somali American folks who are in this room right now who were called garbage by the President of the United States. And people who just this weekend had their citizenship ceremony canceled because of their country of origin. The message to them is clear. Entire communities are being given legitimate reason to fear their own government. And that fear grows by the day. And Chief, I hear you that we cannot fix that overnight, but we can mitigate it, and we can do things to not make them feel even more scared. I appreciate Councilmember Foster diving in on the breach of contract and the concerns around the 13,000 searches at the initial use of Flock ALPRs. I'm not understanding as to why that wasn't disclosed in the initial 2024 surveillance report.
Chris, go ahead and take that.
So when we conduct audits, there's two ways you can conduct audits. There's network audits, which shows all activity on network, and there's organizational audits. When we initially caught it, it was caught on a network audit, and that's when it was addressed. A year later, as we were conducting the audits throughout the year, we were conducting organizational audits because we're the only ones that have access to our data. So that's what the supervisor was checking against. When he conducted the organizational audit for the entire year to verify the usage, he didn't see the miss. Later, we received a public records request that asked specifically for a network audit. When that network audit was conducted for the year, that's when it was seen. As soon as it was seen, we made all appropriate notifications, pulled back the annual report, made the amendment, and disclosed that.
So, but for that public records request, is it true that we may have never realized that happened?
Yeah, it's very possible.
Who oversaw that surveillance report?
The annual report? I did.
My understanding is that SDPD, and Chief, I appreciate you doing what you did with Councilman Foster, bringing us in, showing us the technology, and having the conversation that we did. If I may have the additional 3 minutes. We share ALPR data with local law enforcement agencies, correct?
Yes.
City of El Cajon has repeatedly said they intend to cooperate with federal enforcement agencies. What protections do we have in place by policy that prevent a request routed through El Cajon to provide indirect access to San Diego data?
So other agencies don't have direct access, right? So anytime they do need access to our data or they need our assistance in an investigation, they call us and they ask specifically. And when they do that, we ask them for a case number, the agency, and the name of the officer that's requesting it, and what it's being requested for. If at any point we feel that it's not for a legitimate reason, they're denied access to that data.
So we go by feeling.
Well, we go by what they're telling us. So if they
So
call
we're
us,
putting a lot of trust in them.
Every agency that is permitted to share and request data, actually they can access it directly in any city but ours, but the idea is that it's permissible under state law. And so
I want to stop you right there because you've said that repeatedly. We have a policy in this city, and every time you say that, it makes me feel like you think that that is optional. The city policy is optional, and the state one is the real law. So what we have here on the books is here on the books for a reason, and just please don't say that again because it makes me trust the department less, that the city rules actually matter to the department.
the city rules do matter to the department, and I mean you no offense.
I don't think you're intending to offend me, but you're concerning me.
That as well.
There's incredible trust being placed on the other end, in the person on the other end of that phone. And I have concerns about what we are doing to verify that they are worthy of that trust. There are departments in this state that ran searches for people attending No Kings rallies, who ran searches simply based on protest, and we have no reason to believe that they wouldn't be willing to lie to you and say they were investigating someone for domestic terrorism, investigating someone for murder, but intending to use it for other purposes. That is extremely concerning to me. And if I understand correctly, we don't have anything rigid in place to prevent departments in California from requesting flock data and misusing it in ways similar to what we've seen in other places throughout the country, such as Kansas, where a former police chief used ALPRs to track his ex-girlfriend's vehicle, or in North Charleston, South Carolina, where surveillance cameras were used to monitor someone's wife, or in Georgia, where a former police chief was recently arrested for using ALPR systems to stalk and harass multiple private citizens who were not being investigated for crimes. So we've talked about the risk. Let's talk about the potential benefits. I heard repeatedly and definitively stated that certain crimes would not have been solved without ALPRs. How can you prove that?
We talked about this, Councilmember, and I'll tell you, you're correct. It may have taken longer to solve those crimes.
The reason I asked it again, Chief, is because we had this conversation, and you acknowledged that we can't prove that they wouldn't have been solved, and we went and said it anyway. And I have a problem with that. Let's talk about San Diego before ALPRs were installed. My understanding is that San Diego is consistently ranked among the safest big cities in America. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Is it true that crime dropped 1.5% in 2024 after flock cameras were implemented? That's based on SDPD numbers.
Yeah, okay.
Is it also true that we saw a 2.7 reduction in 2023 before ALPRs were installed?
Assuming you're getting the same data, yes.
Same press release?
Yes.
We heard repeatedly that the reduction in vehicle theft is one of the most remarkable achievements of ALPRs. What's the reduction in vehicle theft in San Diego?
Currently?
Yeah.
We're down about 22% this year.
Do you know what we're down nationwide?
No.
23% in the first half of 2025. So
well,
I'm not going to give flock.
Okay. ALPR systems are throughout this country.
They are throughout this country, but they're not everywhere, and it looks to me like we're not superseding everyone, we're not overperforming, we're on a national trend, and my understanding,
I think
Chief,
that's debatable,
is that
sir.
there are a lot of reasons that attribute to that, including some of the car manufacturers upgrading their systems to not make it so easy for their systems to be hacked. So there's a whole slew of reasons, and for us to say ALPRs are the reason why we have a 20% drop here is not accurate, because we can't prove it.
Well, sir, you know what else is down? Our car break-ins are down. I think it's 22%. I don't think they're making stronger windows. People are still breaking into cars, but they're doing it far less now because the same person that steals your car is also breaking into your car. So we've arrested over 350 people for auto theft, specifically because of this system, these ALPRs. So we can give you a stat on that. To deny that it has an impact on crime would be.
I'm not denying that I think everyone here would agree that watching all people at all times can help reduce crime and solve crime. Being helpful and being necessary are two different things, and I'm not there. I'm not there with where we're at with this contractor to put good, honest, law-abiding people at risk, giving cruel and unaccountable federal government another tool with an untrustworthy company. We have to be able to safeguard the information that we collect, and my two biggest concerns are this. One, I have not heard the fears that are in this room and in my community sufficiently acknowledged. Second, I think we're making a false promise. One of the most dangerous things that we can do when we're charged with the responsibility of protecting others, I'm just about to wrap up, is telling someone that they're safe when we can't actually make that promise. And I know you would believe that, Chief. Do we have full and complete control over Flock?
The data that we have is
No.
out.
Do we have full and complete control over Flock?
No.
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 We can't promise that we can keep San Diegans safe from them. That's why I'll be voting no.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Elo Rivera. Claudia is not back yet, so we're still waiting for her.
Council
No, she
President?
is online and ready to answer and
Oh,
follow up
okay.
on Councilmember Foster's question.
Thank you, Coda.
Thank you, Council President. Just to circle back, in our terms and provisions, section 13.4, we do have a section on subcontractors that states, all persons assigned to perform any work related to this contract, including any subcontractors, are deemed to be employees of the contractor, and contractor shall be directly responsible for their work. So what that means is that all of the subcontractors, including in this instance Flock, would be required to follow all the provisions that we have in the contract. Now, I believe Councilmember Foster did ask how we would know if Flock is following those provisions. We would have to have a copy of the subcontract agreement to see what language was included there. But essentially, again, we would hold Ubiquita responsible as they are the prime.
Correct, and thank you for that clarification. My question was, again, how are we, when we use the word accountability, I understand we have a prime contractor and we have subcontractors. And so typically our agreement is only with the prime, and that is typically who we do business with. And so I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that clearly we have not verified, right, that the prime contractor did what they were supposed to do, and to make sure that in their subcontractors' agreements that they have all of the required language and obligations. Is that fair to say? We have not done that, right? Okay. Thank you. I said this before, and Claudia, I think I will have some additional conversations in Chief, because I do want to make sure that I understand options. Just as we continue, whatever, if this moves forward, I just think we need to do some things differently, do some things better. And again, one of the things that is most troubling to me is that a former employee that put this in place is now an employee of Flock. I just think that is totally inappropriate, and I don't think we should be, I think it just puts us in a bad, compromising position as we are in the environment that we are in. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Foster.